Hey, what's going on, folks? It's Mike here, and welcome to our first impression series in which we look at a language that, well, I haven't looked at in either a long time or maybe just some new tool or feature that has come out here. And today I'm going to be continuing our trend from the last video in which I look at something that I haven't looked at or actually programmed in quite a while, but I've always admired from afar. In fact, long ago, I had written many tutorial series using this language, and the language that we're going to be looking at today is Pascal, and specifically free Pascal, which has advanced and built on top of the language, and is really Object Pascal, which gives you lots of the object-oriented features and modern conveniences of programmers today. So as you'll note here from the webpage here, free Pascal, specifically this compiler, is a compiler for the closely related programming language dialects Pascal and Object Pascal. Now, before we dive into this, I got to give you just a little bit of computer science history with this and introduce you to Niklaus Writh here, who is a Swiss computer scientist, and he is a legend amongst programmers. You can see here that he has the Turing Award, which is one of the highest awards that you can have as a computer scientist. So, only maybe one or two people get this award every year, and he's gotten it for his contributions on many of the programming languages in which you'll see Pascal here. Now, if folks are interested, I'd actually like to look at some of these other languages, which I definitely haven't programmed in, although I might have opened up Modula once many years ago, but Pascal is the one we're going to be looking at today. I think a lot of folks probably have this experience, depending on when you start learning programming, that in schools, oftentimes you might have learned Pascal as a first programming language. That's not an uncommon story shared with me or that I hear from other programmers who are maybe in school in the 80s or 90s. And in fact, Pascal was a popular programming language in the Apple ecosystem, not too long ago, but maybe the 80s or 90s, again, before Objective-C, I think they were using some Pascal. So anyways, this language has an interesting history in that it was developing. Let's actually go to the page here and see if they talk about it here. But this language was really developing in the heyday of programming languages, I should say, when things were just kind of starting to get out. So there was sort of Pascal and C, and folks were looking at, which language to use. I mean, C ultimately sort of won if we sort of look by popularity indexes, but that's not to say that Pascal, I mean, even today it is used quite commonly in various sort of niches. There's been professional games and commercial game successes that have been done in Object Pascal and Delphi, which I'll get to in a little bit here. And it still has an active and vibrant community. So I'm going to get into that again just in a little bit here. But anyways, it's got a history here, 53 years old. And just because a language is old as well, we shouldn't throw it out necessarily. A lot of these languages, that's a testament to, they have really lived up to their value, so to speak. So anyways, just a few notes on Pascal. I'm a little bit nostalgic about it because I really liked the language when I was learning it, and I like how it's influenced some of the programming languages that we use today, for instance. So I'm going to go ahead and click on one other variant of it, which is, let's see, Embarcadero software here with Delphi. Let's just click on the image here. Which was, again, a little bit of a, history here. Oops, here we are. Maybe a little bit of a blurry screenshot, but back in the day with Visual Basic, so again, kind of taking into the 90s, rapid application development, or RAD tools, were very popular. So Delphi was a variant of Pascal and Object Pascal. Again, relatively close, I would say, but it really was a great tool for rapidly developing graphical user interface applications. I mean, many folks are still using it. I mean, this is an active tool and company and so on. So, I mean, you can feel free to take a look at their stuff here. It looks like they're releasing, Rad Studio here and so on. So I'm going to be looking at the free Pascal variant. Maybe some folks know a little bit more about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Again, I love learning about the different frameworks and tools available for all these different things here. But, these tools, and this is still probably true today, are, some great tools for building graphical user interfaces. And we'll get into this in a moment. So anyways, I'm going to look at free Pascal here. Let's go ahead and dive in. We'll write some programs. We're going to need that link in a little bit. But one of the cool things about the free Pascal compiler when you first look at it on this page here, and then we're going to be downloading an IDE Lazarus here in a little bit, or Lazarus, however you pronounce it, is, well, it's mature, versatile, it's open source, which is great. If you poke around the GitHub, you'll even see like folks are committing stuff like to the hour. So it's a very vibrant and active community here. I'm just looking at this list of um, architectures that you can develop for. I mean, even the JVM here, that's kind of crazy. And all the different operating systems from Android, all the Nintendo, or a bunch of the Nintendo gaming consoles here, embedded platforms. I mean, Risk, all these different things here. You could pretty much write once and compile, your software and run everywhere, which is kind of the dream here. So that's really cool here. There's even JavaScript. Okay, so it looks like there's some sort of like Pascal to JavaScript, or I wouldn't be surprised if there's a WebAssembly here. I mean, they have like maybe some LLVM infrastructure as well. This infrastructure being built out. So lots of cool stuff here. Let's see, as I mentioned, let's take a look at their GitLab here just really quick, just so you can see. Let's see if they have maybe here bugs. I guess we could look at their issues. Right, they're still being filed. They're up to date. They're being fixed and so on. Let's look at the free Pascal group here. I mean, yeah, this is a really active project. Yeah, there's a build, or some commits here on the source here a few hours ago here. So that's always a good sign for the health of the tool here. So anyways, let's just kind of poke around here, see some more of the features here. Let's see here, Mac Pascal mode here, Think Pascal. Okay, so it's compatible with a lot of the other flavors. Again, as I mentioned, Pascal is still a active and thriving language as far as I know. There's probably lots of applications, commercial applications that we're using that we don't even know about. And I'd be curious to hear folks mention some of those in the comments, just to give them a shout out. I want to say it was one of the games. I'm trying to forget. There was a turn-based strategy game that was built in Delphi that was quite popular many years ago in the early 2000s. But anyways, lots of tools here. Let's go ahead. Let's see what's going on in the news here. Previous news. Let's just continue from the homepage here. So our downloads. Okay, so we're at version 3.22. And let's go ahead and start downloading this here. Let's see. I'm on an Intel machine. Let's go to Linux here, though, and select a download here. I'll do it from SourceForge, sure. And let's just go ahead and see how easy this is. I'll go ahead and just start downloading the tar file here. Give that just a few moments, as always, and it's off. Okay. So let's take a look at the wiki, just kind of dig around in the language here a little bit. I've got the website. Let's see what the roadmap is looking like for the tool here. And this is, let's see here, the Lazarus, which is one, or Lazarus, however you pronounce it. Let's see here. And this is going to be a popular IDE that's used with the free Pascal compiler, which gives you that rapid application development environment here. So we might take a look at that. Maybe I'll download that as well here. It's not so much looking at the language here. But basically what I'm scrolling through here is there's just tons of components here, like creating a main menu bar here. And these are all the platforms, I guess, that's supporting. So Cocoa would be like Mac, Windows, obviously, GTK, usually for Linux support, and then some others that I'm not as familiar with. But it looks like, I mean, there's a lot of support for pretty much every platform here. So this must have a really large community developing things, which is kind of cool here. They've got some mailing lists and some other stuff here. Free Pascal videos here. Okay, from some universities as well. That's pretty cool here. Let's just take a look here. Videos updated in 2019. Okay, so pretty recent here. I'm just going to go ahead and let's go ahead and click on this here. This might be useful. Installing in Linux. That sounds like something that we need to do. So this is great. We can see the basics of the programming language here. I can see some of the features. We're actually going to look at these in a moment here. Let's see here. Oh, brilliant. All right, so they've got really nice videos, so we'll give a shout out to someone here. I'm gonna make sure the volume's off here, but these seem like they're really nicely produced here. Okay, cool. So getting started here. This might be a great way. Obviously you're watching this video. I'm just doing a quick sort of run through of the language and some resources that I find, and just to see that experience. But there's some cool stuff here. They've got some modules. Modules are great. That was another thing with the Pascal compiler that I remember, is that it was able to compile blazingly fast. In fact, part of the design of the language was so that it could be sort of parsed efficiently, okay, which was an advantage that they had. I think they've had a module system as part of the language or the variants for quite some time here. Okay, cool. This has got a bunch of stuff here. Maybe we'll hold on to some of these. These look like they're all videos. Parsing strings and so on. Yeah, nice bite-sized videos, so some nice resources here. Okay, great. Let's just keep that open here, because we might need that later. And we got some object-oriented stuff here. Let's just take a quick look so we can see an index of maybe some of the features that are available. Okay, yeah, here's some of the form development and so on. Okay, we got classes and methods. We got all this sort of stuff here, like virtual functions. And then we can override constructors, destructors. I wonder if this has sort of the RAII stuff with C++ here. So that might be kind of interesting. Okay, let's take a look here. Again, the last time I touched Free Pascal, I actually touched it recently. I downloaded it. And that's how I found this tutorial here, the Castle game engine, which was pretty neat. But it had been probably 10 years since. Always liked the language, but the reality was professionally I was working in C++ and doing that kind of stuff here. So that kind of led me away for a while, but now I'm visiting here. So I got some books and magazines here. That's pretty cool here. So professional programming. Okay, so again, seeing some active books here in the community and in different languages, which is pretty cool here. Oh, and a lot of books in German here. So maybe there's a hub of programmers working on that kind of stuff in Germany. Okay, so, and they got a whole ton of other tutorials here. Okay, cool. I mean, there's tons of stuff. I'm already seeing like asynchronous function calls and all sorts of neat stuff, working with high DPI displays, OpenGL. That might be worth, checking out here. So doing some modern OpenGL stuff. And just getting a look at the language here, one of the things that I liked about the language was it did, as I recall, delineate between procedures and, let's see, I guess functions, did I just call them? Let's see if we have something that returns. But a little bit a different style, and this was what we saw in Go and V, right? You specify the variables and then the type here. And I really like that you could do these little things here. Like if you've got a list of variables here, you just specify one time. I wish more languages had that sort of feature, because I don't know how many times I've write a function. It's just quicker, right? If I know, usually these are all the same type, it's easier to specify them in that way. The other thing you'll sort of notice about Pascal is it's not a curly brace language. You're using begin and end, which some people really like. It's got the semicolons at the end. I think some variations of Pascal have a period at the end as well. I just can't remember 100%. But then you've also got the sort of if condition, then do this. So again, it's very readable. That was one of the things with the Pascal programming language that folks liked about it. Again, and it's probably still true that it's a readable language here, right? Here's my variables, here's my types, so some nice things. And this is telling us, I guess, to decorate it as like a C function. But what I'm trying to find here, just some other things, and then we'll look at the language. The other nice thing that the language has is, well, as far as how you structure your program, you declare all your variables ahead of time. I thought that was kind of neat. I mean, and organized in a way. It just gave a natural structure to your programs in the same way that folks who probably like Python, that like the white space, for instance, right? Just other forms of structure in your program. Now, I'm sort of curious if compilers are able to take advantage of this information, or maybe that makes it really easy to see, like, hey, none of these variables are in the scope, so you can get rid of them. That probably makes that sort of dead code elimination pass very trivial. As I say, like right when you have an unused variable, you can just eliminate it. So anyways, let's just looking at some OpenGL stuff here, and some actual code as we talk through the language. All right, let's kind of see what else there is to look at on the website and getting us started here. Okay, we got the documentation. Okay, so we got a user guide, a programmer's guide, the language reference guide, and then a bunch of the runtime library, and then all these free components. I think these free components are for, let's see, are these libraries here? I forget how they delineate them. But let's kind of start in order here. So we got our user's guide here for version 3.22, how to install the compiler, IDEs, and so on, porting. Yeah, pretty cool here. I got all of our stuff here. Pretty well, nicely written here. Okay, cool. They got some configuration stuff here. The programmer's guide here, which has our language, all the compiler directives. Okay, I think there is a preprocessor here. Let's see if that's true, if it's got all these directives. That might be true. Let's see here, preprocessor. There must be here, using a Pascal preprocessor. Okay, so I can do that kind of stuff here. That's kind of neat. I believe you break your program into units. Again, there's sort of a module system. And then you can have interfaces and then implementations. That's kind of neat here. So again, they break it out. It makes it a little bit more verbose, but more readable. That was always the trade-off, I remember. Although again, since this language has evolved and we're looking at it, I think there's much more to this here. Okay, let's see. Here's our language reference guide, all our structured types, classes, interfaces, generic programming. You have records, which I believe were like structs without member functions, although that could be not true here. Let's see, bunch of class stuff. Yeah, so there's plenty of the normal stuff here. Here's our, yes, let me look at the function declarations really quick, because this was something I remember here. Yeah, we actually have function here. Let's see here, let's find an example. So procedures, I believe, don't return anything, which was kind of nice. Some languages get away with this by just like returning a none type or maybe an optional with nothing. But if you truly don't want to return anything and just want to run some subroutine of code, as it's called in other languages, you just, there's nothing to return here. So now return statement. But functions, let's see if we can find an example here. Let's see here. Here's our procedures. Oops, our functions. Okay, this is talking about setting up an out parameter here. Okay, we'll get to some of this. Just want to find a function with a return here. Function average. Okay, yeah, so this has a return type here. And let's see, how do we specify what value we're returning? I guess we'll get to that. Open parameters can be passed by value or by reference. Okay, this is some interesting stuff here. Again, we'll get to a tutorial in a second here. Okay, let's see here. We've got, all right, so we'll get into that. Anyways, so just looking through the language runtime library here. Okay, looks like we've got a bunch of different components, some system level components here. These are all of our like system types things we want to do, like starting another process or maybe a thread. I'm seeing like mmap here for allocating memory. These are a lot of the things that, they basically have a direct C translation as well. Pascal's been used to build some operating systems. I remember seeing some projects like this. So again, it's a general purpose programming language, but you can do all the low level stuff that you want and do it with performance. So again, just need to probably spend some time searching through that guide here. All right, and then we got our reference guide. So I'm going to kind of skip through some of this stuff and let's get to writing some Pascal here. Now, what I've done here is, let's go into my downloads here, and open up that tar file here. What was it? Free Pascal. Let's see what it was called. I think it was FPC. Let's see here, FPC. Okay, let's see if that takes care of things here. We've got an install script here. Let's see here. Vim install here. Don't edit this file. Okay, we just gotta run the script here. Let's see if it's executable here. Okay, yep, that's fine. Let's go ahead and install it. I can see some of the components, some of the different libraries. Yeah, we probably want the documentation. Let's get some demos. Okay, it's gonna be in examples. Okay, yes. As you can see, looks like I had 3.2 or something. Okay, let's see, is there like a version or something? FPC, let's just do that here. Okay, so it looks like I got 3.22 here, which is, one of the latest versions here. and a ton of compiler flags. Awesome. Okay. Cool. So let's cd into home/mic/free Pascal FPC. There we are. Okay, and oops, actually, let's see. Where were our examples? Oh, I think they're in share here. And documentation. Here's our compiler. Do we have any examples? Yeah. Okay, cool. So we got some stuff here. Let's see here. We got a text file here with the different demos. All right, to build the programs, simply type make in the base directory. Okay, cool. So it looks like we're using make as our build system. If we want to add further samples, fpc make. Okay. So let's just go ahead and run our make file here. Yeah, it looks like most of these things are working, and we'll have to take a look at them. Let's go ahead and graph or something. And let's see what happened here. Fatal. Okay, so maybe we can't find some stuff, but we'll get into that. Might just want to look at some of these examples later on. But that looks like it's it. Looks like I have the compiler installed, so we're halfway there. But what I want to actually highlight here for getting started here with this is this Castle game engine here, which is probably one of the more famous projects that I had seen. And again, it sort of rekindled some of my interest in the free Pascal programming language because, well, I mean, this is a pretty awesome looking project here. Let's go ahead and kind of scroll through it. And the thing that I saw here, I think it was on a Hacker News or something, was this guide for a modern object Pascal introduction that I thought was very well written, and we're going to guide it. So, if you like this project, it looks like you can give them some support. They've written a really nice tutorial here, so we'll give them a shout out for that. But I think this is pretty cool here. It's cross-platform, desktop, mobile, and console games. So again, kind of speaking to the power of the Pascal language and some of the things that you can build here. It looks like they have a nice editor and so on. Some tutorials, and what else do they have here? Lots of components for building UIs and so on. Some ways to bring in various data. Some really nice graphics effects here. And this is pretty cool here. Yeah, we've got this running on a console here. And they've even got, mobile phone support here, the Switch, and web. So, not too much more you can ask for here as far as a game engine goes here. So let's give them a shout out here. And take a look at their guide, because that's what's going to be guiding us. So the why here, I think this highlights some of the nice things about the programming language. These are some of the things that I like, again, with languages. I like having the option to switch between paradigms, right? Whether that's object-oriented or imperative style or functional. Units are a nice way to usually get fast compilation system. I'm assuming this is talking about, this sort of module system. Programming interfaces, again, idea I like doing. Generics, right? Super useful if you're building data structures at the least here. And again, it is a native, it's generating native code, right? That's where we sort of started this video, thinking about all the different targets that you can have here. Type safety is really cool. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that, because when I was learning this, I don't know, 10 plus years ago, that was something that I wasn't as concerned with, but now I like, right? I want to catch bugs at compile time as much as possible, right? Years of wisdom have taught me that. High level but low level, yeah, that's sort of, good game engines and programming languages let you work at sort of different levels, right? Based off the things that you want to do here. All right, so okay, so here's our hello world here. And let's go ahead and create a little program here, and let's try to run it here with FPC, my program. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this here. I've still got my compiler here. I'm going to do this just in the examples. Actually, let's back out of here. Okay, maybe somewhere like here. I'm just going to do it in our share here. But let's write our little hello world program here. I'm going to split the window here. And let's make this a little bit bigger here. I'm just kind of working the terminal here. Okay, so my program, I'm just going to call this hello here. Now I gotta figure out what this mode thing is, but I'm assuming there's like a, different toggles here for free Pascal. Maybe they'll explain that later in the tutorial, or somebody else can let me know here. It says just use this line in all modern sources. Okay. I'm assuming there's different dialects of the language in the way that, C++, you put what standard of the language you're using. So maybe that's, maybe there's like a Delphi mode or something for different compilers. So our program, my program. And I should probably match, actually. Let's see if that matters, this sort of name here. But begin, right line, I think single quotes, okay, for our language. Hello, friends. Let's do a shout out. Hello, Castle Engine. Again, just for, writing this nice tutorial for us. Okay, so we've got our file here, FPC. We'll feed in our code here. And that was pretty lightning fast. It ran here, compiled, and linked. What did it give us here? And it gives us a hello program. So hello, Castle Engine. Thanks for writing this nice tutorial for us today to follow along with. Okay, pretty cool. And then, okay, so maybe we will take a look. I do have a version of Lazarus installed, so maybe I could take a look at it. But it looks like I did just run it in the IDE. I want to just look at the language, though. And then maybe we'll have a separate series if folks are interested in running game engines or something. But yeah, let's take a look at some of these procedures and so on. Now let's mess around with this a little bit. Yeah, if I just call this program test here, does it still build? Still links and runs. And did it? Yeah, it still just gave us the module hello by default here. And it gave us our object file here. Let's actually run some tools on this. Like, can we see some of the symbols here? Let's see what's going on in a Pascal program here. FPC, let's see, I saw something like Valgrind. Interesting. I wonder if this is compiling in debug mode or something by default here. But we can see some of our symbols here. Okay, so we got a main function that's, I guess, implicitly given to us. Okay, interesting. The other thing, actually, let's do this here. Godbolt. I believe Godbolt has, this is a tool I like to use. Again, if you've seen my D series, I'll start using this more. But let's see if there's a free Pascal compiler here. Where would it be under? Pascal? Okay. An FPC, okay. 322. It gives us a default here. Okay, cool. Oh, we got the assembly here. I mean, again, it's a compiled language. It's pretty small here. Let's see, we've got our square function. For taking a number, multiplying it. Pretty nice, a nice integration here. Because again, it's a pretty small thing. So it looks like, I mean, it could be some nice tooling infrastructure it could take advantage of. Okay, cool. All right, let's get back to the tutorial. Writing some functions and just kind of taking a look at this here. Functions and primitive types here. Let's see what's built in. I mean, it looks like write lines built into the language. We didn't have to import any libraries. But let's see. Okay, so program's probably our first thing here. And we're gonna write a procedure, my procedure, const. Okay, so we still have const correctness. And we put that, again, I like this variable declaration, with the type at the end. I tend to like that. It's probably different for folks coming from a C programming language. But it looks like you could still put const A. So if I had a B here, it wouldn't be const or something. Right, I could do, let's actually just try that. B, something like that. And then I need my begin and my end. And I'll write out the line. Oops, write ln. A plus B. I'm going to go ahead and change this up a little bit. A plus B. Okay. And let's try to call our procedure here. Okay, and we do this like a regular function call here. My procedure, 10 and 5. And it's going to write out that result here. Okay. Let's compile this and we'll just run it here if there's no problem. Okay. Hello, Castle Engine. A plus B is 15. Okay. We can clean up our output a little bit. Is... Okay, there we are. So brilliant. That works nicely. And it looks like we can, as anticipated, do these sort of like const things here. per variable here. Oh, let's see. This did give us an error here. Identifier expected, but const found. Okay, so maybe this applies to all of them here. Now let's see here. How do I make one const but not the other here? I do colon integer. Let's see if that fixes the issue here. Compilation aborted. Oh, no, what did I mess up here? This is probably my fault. Const a colon integer b colon integer. Okay, we'll have to figure that out here. And what the types are or something with mixing const. But again, always getting ahead of myself here, but curious. Okay, so we could write out strings. Looks like strings a default or a built-in type here. And strings are automatically managed. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to look. I mean, this is a systems programming language. And since it's, you know, a little bit of a, you know, there was a phase, I'd say, in the 90s and 2000s for languages to be garbage collected. So I wonder if these strings are how they're being allocated here. That would be kind of interesting to see here. Okay, division / always makes float result. Okay, that makes things kind of nice and clean here. And this is kind of a nice syntax here for writing output here. 2 decimal places, okay? Which I'm assuming is the :2 here. Okay, let's see. To return a value from a function, assign something like this magic result variable. You can read and set the result freely, just like a local variable. Okay, so there's just a result variable here. That makes it very clear what we're returning then. You can read and set the result variable freely. Okay. Treat the function like above, but to discourage it in new code as it looks fishy. Okay, let's see what's fishy about this. Just use result always when you want to read or set the function result. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so we always just have results. So is that a keyword? Let's go ahead and see here. Function, and let's go ahead and write this, you know, sum function here, a and b. Let's make this a floating type. How do I do that here? We just saw here, we have integers. And then we do division. Oh, single. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's probably the right thing, right? Because we have doubles usually in languages and single point precision values. Somehow they just got named float. So again, a lot of, you know, reasonable things here. I think there was also a real, yeah. Let's just return a single here. We terminate with a semicolon, and then we have our begin and end, and then result. And a plus b here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do something like write line here. And again, we call this sum 10 and 9. Okay, so let's go ahead and compile that. And we get our result here. Now what have I done here? That's a little bit of a weird result. Okay, let's see here. I wonder if I should initialize that value. And also something kind of interesting, I did a lowercase b and it didn't complain at me, which is kind of interesting here. Oh, this is just the output here. I see why they're doing that output, because 1.9 raised to 10, so that is 19. Okay, yep. Let's use that little trick here. 1:2. Let's see if it gives me 2 decimal points here. Yeah, 19.0. Okay, super clean here. So it's just telling us, yeah, what the I guess the exponent is, or you know, how to handle this. What if we make this 2 and 2? Okay, interesting. Okay, just yeah, that's a nice output here. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Kind of moving along with our language. We got our functions down. Yeah, let's see if we can write some procedures or something with variables. Now these look like global variables here, which we have in the language. Oh, but the other thing I highlighted over with this language is, and some languages have started to adopt this, which I like for assignment, the colon equals. And again, it always looked like a little arrow to me. So I sort of like that as far as the language goes, because again, it was just, it made a difference between not having to use equals. When you're just doing assignment, you use these 2 tokens. Again, something that's nice, a little bit cleaner here, right? We can see in our if conditions, there's just a one equal sign here. So some things to get used to. They're mostly cosmetic, but I think they're a little bit clearer when you're writing your code. And it, in C famously, you could have code where you have like if a equals 7 or something, and this would always evaluate to a true condition and assign 7 to some variable here a, which you might not have intended to do. So those could be the little pesky bugs that crept in the language. Okay, we have if then, and then we can have blocks if you just have one statement. So pretty similar to other languages. You have an else, else if, and so on. Not equal to is the these guys here, the angular brackets, I guess. So that seems to make sense. Okay, so let's keep moving along. This is a nice guide here. You can learn, this in pretty much a day of going through here. Case statements here, so some value here, enumeration. You could have a range here, that's kind of nice here, or several, again, making things kind of clear. Okay, if we have some type here, or enum that we're creating, let's go ahead and do that. And it looks like the convention in Pascal is to start things off with a T. Again, somebody could let me know if that's not true. Type T, animal kind. That's a nice, cat, dog, bat, ox, or whatever. That's pretty nice here. Yes, this is the convention prefix a new name with a 2-letter shortcut of type. Okay, animal kind. A useful convention. Okay, great. It's nice to learn from, some folks. There's one, we've been looking through the language references and so on. But these days we've noticed, like in some programming languages, like in Rust and so on, they have nice language guides. So this is a nice, like, I don't know if I want to call this official guide or something, but a good probably starting point for folks like me, diving into the language. So this is kind of nice here. Okay, you can avoid placing enums in the global namespace. Okay, so there's different compiler directives. Okay, that's kind of neat for controlling this. Okay, similar to C# enums. Okay, I wonder, how much these languages influence each other. I want to say, again, in history, could be a little bit foggy here, that one of the developers from Delphi, I forget his name, actually came and was working on Delphi, and then I think he got recruited to work on C#. So, there might be some features borrowed. But I think, again, Pascal is a good language to learn from. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the history. I believe that is the case. I just forget the developer's name. Okay, let's see here. So we can create some sets, enumerated types here. Okay, so some interesting stuff here. T animals equals set of animal kind here. Okay, cool. Yeah, we got some clean syntax here, I guess, for just creating sets here. Okay. Loops, got our loops. I wonder if they have range-based for loops, which is something that I've always thought was missing in C for a long time. C++ finally got them in C++ 11. But it looks like we could do low of my array to high of my array. Oh, that's kind of interesting here. So there must be these built-in functions that tell you the range or something. Let's create an array here. Do a little bit of programming work here. I'm going to come down here in my begin and end, and it looks like every unit, or in our program here, this is like our main body or our main function coming down here. So before I do this, I'll declare my variables here, var my array, which is going to be an array from 0 to 9 is reasonable of integer. Okay, and I need an index or something. I'm going to call mine IDX. Again, I've noticed variables often begin with capital letters here, according to this guide. So I wonder if that's another convention here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do for IDX. We assign it from our low of my array to the high value of my array. And we do something. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's just write out. Let's actually just write out the values here. My array at the index here. I want to see if these are like 0 initialized or what happens here. Okay, they are zeros. They might happen to be, but that might not always be the case here. Let's see. Array 0 initialize. That's been something, again, a choice I like in D language, which I think is the right default, is to 0 initialize everything and then specify if you don't with like an equal void or, a compiler directive or something that says, don't do this. I think that's fine here. Okay, now they did a little bit of work to initialize their variables ahead of time. Okay, repeat and so on. Let's keep going here. Got some interesting stuff here. Okay, so now we're getting into some really interesting stuff. For I in. Okay, so these are basically, like a for each. Okay, so that answers my question. Python, dlang, C++11 and beyond. You can iterate through all the values in an array. Again, it's just a nice convenience thing. It shows your intent for what you're trying to do, which I think is nice. Going over all the possible like enumerated types, like that animal example we did, that's very nice here. And it works on custom list types, generic or not. Okay, cool. T-object list. This must be like a array list or something in Java. Okay, cool. Yeah, we can, oh, interesting. We can specialize this. So that's when we're sort of creating our data structure here. Now this looks like maybe this is part of the, we got to start bringing in some stuff here with this uses. So that's equivalent to maybe our import and our include statements. Okay, so again, I'm just going to kind of keep cruising through this. Okay, Castle Game Engine has some cool stuff. String conversion, units. Okay, so we can group common stuff together here. And they are equivalent to modules and packages in other languages. Great. That's something I like here to see. These can also be very good for, having a nice module system or units, in this case in Pascal, right, for doing separate compilation. The linker is always sort of the bottleneck in languages, it seems, once you actually have to combine these things into an executable. But being able to compile and parse them should be possible, and something that you can do in a lightning fast way, right? I should be able to just look at this unit, compile it, and do that effectively in parallel in languages if they're designed around that idea, right? Okay, so this is our unit, and it looks like there are sort of the interface and implementation separation here. Again, I like that. And this is one of the things that I like about in C++ where you have headers, because it is usually clear what's going on in the interface. Now, things get a little bit hacky there, but anyways, I just like this explicit, like, here's the interface, here's what's available, and then the implementation below here. I think that's really clean in a language. It's also clean if someone's using this code, that basically they could just say, I'm the client, I'm just going to look at this section here and have the interface. So again, a lot to like about Pascal, and it's, amazing that this language is, at least the first iteration, 53 years or whatever old that we saw here. So let's kind of look through this here. Okay, and then in our program here, we'll use my unit or import or include it, which is fine. All right, so let's do a little bit of coding here. Let's take this idea here. See if we make any mistakes here. I'm going to call this my unit. And let's go ahead and grab some of these things here. Let's just grab everything that's not in our main. Okay, make this really clean here. And then let's set this up here. Oops, I need to write this out as my unit dot LPR, I guess is what we're using here. And let's open up my unit LPR. Oops. Let's see, did I write it out? Right, yeah. Let's overwrite it. And let's open it up here. Oh, let's just do that again here. V-split, my unit, there we are. Okay. Okay, so this is a unit, my unit. We need to specify our interface and our implementation here. I'm gonna get rid of this enum. We're not using it here. And then what did we have here? An end, the period here. Okay, let's see. And then over here, we came over and did our uses. My unit. Okay, did it need a semicolon? I don't know. Let's see if we compile this. I'm assuming I need to add in my file here. So yeah, fatal compilation, can't find my unit used by this program test. Okay, that's fine. Let's see if we have to feed these in and if it matters what order. Okay, so now it's just like syntax. Expected, okay, fatal error. Okay, unit probably needs a semicolon after it. Okay, let's see here. Error identifier not found, result. So some errors here. Result here. Okay, well, let's see. Let's lean on our tutorial just a little bit here. My procedure, my function here. Probably need to include this mode thing here, which I still don't exactly understand what it's doing, other than maybe it's a directive to the compiler to understand things in a certain way. Okay, that was it. Okay, not bad. That was pretty clean. Again, able to pick that up pretty quickly and easy to overall get things up and running here. Okay. So yeah, pretty clean here. So let's just kind of keep cruising through the language. Let's get to some of the object-oriented stuff. So we got our units here. And again, let me just run this one more time just to reemphasize this point. This is like lightning fast here as far as compiling and running. And this is a small file here, but I'm liking what I see here. Be curious, I know this is something that has a reputation for being a very quick to compile language, as I've mentioned. Okay, cool. There's like a graphics package already in here. Okay, that's cool. Okay, cool. Uses Google Maps engine. Okay, I think this is just showing off some of the stuff from the engine here. Or maybe, I like if languages just have a way even just to open a window and plot some pixels. Sometimes that's all you need. And you can do quite a lot with that as far as graphics or building a little game. Great way to learn here. Okay, classes. Getting into some stuff. We have fields, methods, and properties. Okay. So again, D itself has like properties. Most languages have methods and fields, or member variables and member functions, or methods, again, as they're often called. And there's more possibilities. Okay, so yeah, you can like nest classes, and of course, it looks like it's got the inheritance stuff here. Interesting here. Okay, so it's got the is and the as functions here. So if something is, that means I'm assuming that we can, let's actually see here. Is and as. Let's see if we see it in our code here. So create our type here for our class, and we've got some procedures here. And again, it's defining, my virtual methods are virtual, something I'm going to override. So this is kind of setting up the interface here. And I've got another class here that's the descendant, okay, of this class here. So I've got the type and then the end here. It looks like these are nested. No, never mind. These are two separate types here. Okay, T my class descendant. Okay, so I provide a default implementation here. I've got the class dot my virtual method here. Okay, just T my class. Okay, so that's pretty clean here. This is one of the confusing things in C++, the colon people ask often about that. It's the colon, the scope operator. So I like the dot here as part of the function name. That's pretty clear. Again, kind of nice part of the language here. Okay, and then this is for my descendant, where you're overriding. And you just have to specify the override in the actual class here, okay, versus, because that's what you want, right? That's what your client's going to see in their actual interface, right? Something like this here is what they're going to look like. And then they don't care about the implementation. And you shouldn't really have to override in both places. So I like that I'm just seeing this in one spot here. It's something that always gets a little bit confusing sometimes when I'm in a header file and a source file in C++, for instance. If I have to copy these things or not. Then a lot of other languages, you just have a module, so you don't have this sort of class decoration here. Okay, and then this is just some examples here. So you've got a crate to allocate, and then try, catch, and finally blocks, I guess, for exceptions here. Okay, so you're trying to see if you can do your virtual method. So neat here. Okay, let's kind of keep cruising along here. We're heading close to an hour. My camera's going to want to turn off, so let's look at some of these other language features. Getters, setters, serialization. Okay, so this part might be part of, or known as streaming in Pascal. Okay. This is something that every sort of game engine has to go through, so this is a nice thing that they're covering here. Yeah, it looks like they've built their own component for this. Okay, then we got public, private, protected, some common things. Now I wonder if you're building a library, how it exports out different functions, but that's something we'll have to think about here. Okay, scrolling through. We're only about halfway through here, so I gotta speed up here. Again, this is going through all the sort of object-oriented stuff here. Freeing classes, okay. So we've got nil here instead of null. And we've got a dot destroy here, which must be invoking the destructor here. Okay, so that looks like something that we've got to take a look at here. Yeah, and we've got a free and nil little shortcut here. That's kind of nice. Okay, cool. Let's see. Yeah, and destructor and constructor, just explicit keywords, and it looks like we just override like the create function that every class, I'm assuming, gets here, create and destroy. So again, some nice things. Again, it's a little bit more verbose writing these things out, but it's much more clear. Again, I think Pascal is a very clear language. I can just search for every dot create, constructor, and that's kind of nice here. Or I could even, imagine linting tools that look for places where we haven't created something. Okay, now they're getting into some ownership stuff, virtual destructor. So I wonder if this is similar to like C++ stuff, or if they clean that up. So that'll be something to have to read into a little bit more. Exceptions, part of the language. Let's just go to the contents here. I'm going to kind of start wrapping us up here. And then, okay, I think these are some part of the runtime libraries. Let's take a look at generics. I'm just going to pick out a few of these records. Let's see if they do operator overloading. They've got pointers. Okay, and then we got a bunch of class features here. So just looking at some of these quickly. Generics here. Okay, so they got the angular bracket. You can define it as a generic type. Okay, so it'll probably, generate all the versions of the code that you need for working with singles or strings. Let's see what else we got here. Records. Just a container. Again, I really like that. Yeah, just having the different C-like structure. Okay, but you can do advanced records, which can have methods and visibility. That's fine here. But yeah, I like having plain old data types or pod data types that are just, without, now they have turned on the advanced record mode here, and I'm assuming records, again, even if you do have these member functions, you can't do the inheritance and all those sorts of things, which is kind of like structs here. I think you get that right in the programming language by splitting up those two ideas. Let's see what we got here. Operator overloading. Let's see how they do this. Yeah, kind of similar to C++ operator. Okay, I'm fine with that since I'm used to that world, which is fine. I'm assuming you can overload like every type of operator. And what else do we got here? Pointers. Yeah, pointers, remember, the syntax is also different with the caret character. And again, I think that's a good idea. Okay, so they got the convention. This is just a nice teaching thing to put like a P in front of something. If you've got the prefix as part of the variable name, so you know it's a pointer. I like that record. And then, of course, T for our type here. So, okay, so we're creating this thing that can point to records here. Okay, and let's see, how do we dereference this here? Let's see here. I like this because one of the issues we run with in C or C++ or other languages where we have the asterisks is it's just overloaded, so it can be a little bit confusing for beginners. You get used to it like anything else, but syntactically, this is probably easier to parse and to see here. It kind of looks like an arrow, although an asterisk is similar. So that's just kind of syntactic sugar stuff. But I like, these types of things that are taught at. Okay. All right, so I think I'm going to kind of wrap up there. Let's just give a kind of final overview. So thanks to this, the author of Castle Game Engine, looks like they have a lot of nice stuff here. A lot of news and progress here. Oh, this is so as of today, I'm recording this, 2 days after. So again, very active stuff here, which is kind of cool. Lots of features. So I'll give them a shout out for writing this nice guide here, which has really guided us through the free Pascal compiler here. So again, it's a compiled language. It's super fast at compiling the code, targets a lot of architectures from consoles to Android or iPhone devices. So I think it's really a great language. And just because it's a little bit older doesn't mean that we want to, throw it out necessarily for something new. It means there's probably a lot of resources, or as we saw there are, and I know historically there are as far as books and teaching materials, so this could be a great language to add to your arsenal. I think with the Lazarus IDE, which let me go ahead and open that up. So if you search for that here, this is like one of the main tools here. And I've watched this project for a long time now. Really mature, and it's done some really cool stuff. As far as just looking at some of the different platforms that it's supported on. This is probably your go-to environment if you're just kind of learning this stuff here. Again, because it's cross-platform, it's got a lot of those components and will allow you to build applications super quick. So again, yeah, I would give this a serious look. I think this is an important part of the infrastructure here. And look at all these guides here. I mean, again, if folks are interested, we might have to do a full tour again, just of different tools and engines and stuff, or IDEs later on. But I mean, this is kind of cool here. If we just look at okay, here it is. There's a bunch of components and stuff for Android development. So, consider this a secret weapon if it makes it super easy to just deploy to all these different targets here. And it is something to keep in mind. Because if you've got the luxury to use whatever tools you want for your development, because maybe it's a new project that's starting, or you're at a startup or something, or you just want to learn and build something, using some of these different tools is probably a good idea. And at the very least, when you see how some of these different languages are used, some of their features and where they overlap and their pros and cons, it'll help strengthen your programming overall. So again, free Pascal, language that I really have liked for a long time. I used to use it a bit, and I keep revisiting it, and I keep getting more and more excited. So it's been great to see this development and see how the community has continued to mature. Some of the fun projects like the Castle engine as an example are really exciting to see. And I'm really excited to see what else is out there in the community. So please feel free to share those comments in the comment section if you've made it this far, and I'll look forward to your feedback. As always, folks, hope you're enjoying this series. Thanks for your time and attention. And yeah, let me know about cool free Pascal or Object Pascal or the variants that I missed out on in the comments. I'm sure others will be curious as well. All right, folks, with that said, we'll see you in the next one.